Hey guys, I am Dominic and I am a grateful recovering video game addict. So, the topic that Ian picked out for me was self-love, self-compassion, and self-forgiveness. But before I want to start off, this is normally how I start off when I'm asked to speak. I'm nervous. I don't want to impress you. All right, now I got that out of the way. So, so I guess I'll start off some background first. What was it like? What happened, and what is it like now? I think one of my favorite lines from an autobiography that I've read is that he starts out this book by saying, "I'm not writing this because I did something very extraordinary with my life, but something very ordinary." That he's accomplished something very ordinary, and I get that, because to start off, I grew up in an alcoholic family. Both sides of my parents are alcoholics, and there's other alcoholism on both sides, not just with my parents. By the age of 8, I was my mother, sister, and I ran away from my father because he was dangerous, and because of his alcoholism, and it seems like there's some other mental health issues going on that accompany with that as well. And so we went into domestic violence shelter, and then that's, I liked playing games, but that's where I noticed, and where my mother actually has told me, that's where I started to escape more. As you can imagine, that's kind of a stressful thing. And it's like, even now, it's like, wow, it's like a lot of people don't go through that, go from hiding because of their parent is dangerous. And, so I grew up without a father, basically. And that hurts. That hurts enormously. It's just like I was talking to my grandpa today, and I don't talk to, I talk to him probably a couple times a year, and it's just like I just find myself that I want to gravitate towards father figures, and I've actually gotten some because of this program. But anyway, so my gaming addiction starts to take off a little more, starts to get a little worse. I start to I started to isolate, and then it became necessary to isolate because of all that chaos that was surrounding. I didn't, we weren't supposed to, it was very secret. It was kind of like, the best way I could put it is we were under this program that was like the witness protection program, but for victims of domestic violence. So my father didn't know where we were, and we had to keep that a secret. And there was always been this fear, that he can't find us. So we did some moving around, and then I'm originally from Washington. We moved to Southern California in LA when I was 12. And that felt like, at that point in my life, I felt like the worst thing that my mom could do. I told her, and I quote, that "you were ruining my life." Because it was just like, this just a scary thing for me. I had all my friends. I had no other reference. How am I going to make friends again? Going to start all over. But anyways, that was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. And I'll get to this why. So my mom is a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And so when she got here, she was she was meeting people in the program, going to her meetings, and she got a new sponsor. And we came here in the fall of 2012, and and then my mom's sponsor, her name's Karen, invited us over for their Christmas party. And it's like, you were still new, only a couple months in LA, and the people at this party, there's probably like 20 or it's a sober party, 20 or 30 people at this party, and all these people, they just joy and happiness emits from them, from the conversations, from their laughter. It's genuine. It's like, they'll throw, like, roast each other a little bit, and there's no harm, no foul. And I just noticed the sense of loving there. And Karen had a husband, or has a husband, and his name is Michael. And eventually, long story short, Michael becomes a safe place for me. He becomes my father figure, the one that I've always wanted, or just having someone in my life, because it's just what I longed for, like with friends that I would have. They were like, I don't know, like just like just the simple shit with going fishing, or just I don't know what like sons and fathers do, but I know I wanted that. So he became the safe place for me, and he was also in the program. And so one day, a couple of years go by, and I'm like, at this point, like, I'm starting to ditch part of school to go home, play games, and I'm lying about it more, hiding about it more. I became apart from, different, and afraid from others. I remember there was just this one time in the bathroom where I just couldn't cry. There was kind of like this, like it was something like the pit of my stomach that felt like, that was just so buried, that felt like I kind of wanted to cry, but I didn't know how. And I really wanted that. I really wanted to cry, and I couldn't. I tried, and it just nothing would come out. And it wouldn't be till later on that I found out it's because I was numbing from games. But so how I get into the program, I hit rock bottom after having my games taken away and going to my friend's house and binging for as long as he wants to stay awake, because it is his house. And the next morning comes, and we have some breakfast, and I'm sitting in his chair waiting for him to come back so he can play games till I get picked up. And I'm just staring at this blank screen with the remote in my hands, and I just have this feeling, or this thought, not a feeling. It's like, and I knew it wasn't mine. I know it wasn't my thought. And it just said, I don't give a it was like something on the lines of, like, I don't care about you. I don't care what your aspirations, what your dreams are, what you hope to become, or not, or what you hope not to become. This is what I want to do all day. I want to sit in front of the screen and not care about anybody and do this. This is what we're going to do. And I was 15 at the time. And I think, so I had that thought, and then subsequently I had the thought, fuck, I'm an addict. God damn it. Well, I might as well get into a program now, otherwise I'll end up winding up into a program, because, and I had no idea where that thought came from either, It was just, I don't know what to call it, luck, I guess. And then I think one of the reasons why I had that thought is because my mom has been sober since I was 3, And I didn't know what about it, but I loved going to meetings. Going to AA meetings. And like I mentioned earlier, it's like being around those sober people, seeing them laugh, seeing them like have light in their eyes. They say things that stand so tall. Like, where does this come from? How do I get there? They seem so comfortable. And so I find this program called CGAA, and they had this quiz. I took the quiz, and I've been here ever since. And it was like, I think what recovery has been is like, it's like I get a little piece of information about myself. I learn something a little more. And I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know that. And sometimes it can be very uncomfortable. Like it took me like, I think, like 9 months off games till I realized how much I hated myself. And when I realized that too, like I remember that morning, it was very vivid. And it was like, holy shit. Like I just remember being able to understand the gravity to which I hated myself. I mean, it was, as you know, as I'm sure you can relate, it's not pretty. And so that was like, 9 months into sobriety for that. That was like, wow, okay, that's something to work on. and then it took me, I don't even know how much longer after that to realize that, actually, I know when. It was when I got to my 6th step that I realized I enjoyed being sick, which is just fucked up. And it was like, I was like, what? Like my sponsor, this is how I realized it. My sponsor said to me, okay, so if you were to wake up the next morning and if you had none of your character defects there, would you be okay with that? And I think to most people that would be like, that would be a fucking miracle, right? But to me, I thought, whoa, what? And that's when I realized that I kind of liked degrading myself. So that was a whole another like world that I opened there. And so, so it's like, I think a big part of this for recovery for me was like learning how to be gentle with myself, learning, okay, how, one guy said to me in the program that he has like on the back of his head, he has all of, his different versions, his voices of himself, and on a bench at the back of his head. And whenever, there's like, like, he said for him, there's like the kid, I told you so, and there's like, there's the guy that says, yeah, you should just kill yourself. For me, it's always like, there's always that frightened kid on the back of there. There's always the guy that's ready to beat up yourself, and that wakes up a half an hour before I do, right? And what I do now to, when those voices get, when it becomes a commotion in my head again, I just say, it's all right, Dominic's gonna take care of this. And one of the moments that I realized that I made some pretty big progress is when I was making my amends. And one day I woke up and there was no noise in my head. It was like, and I didn't realize that that's how I woke up for the most of my life until it wasn't there. And it was like, it was really weird, because I remember thinking, when I didn't hear anything, no degrading, that self-deprecating voices, I remember like looking around in my room like, where did they go? Like I tried reaching for them. It was like, what the hell? you know. So another thing that comes to mind was when I was doing my resentment inventory on my father, and I've done it several times, but this last time I did it was like where it cleared it all up. And the way I was doing it, it was like, you know, you got your basic stuff, who is my part, character defect, what did I do, and for that my sponsor just told me I was a kid, there's nothing I did wrong. And for most of my life, I guess I could say, I thought my father would rather go drink or dope up rather than be with his kids. And in the last column that my sponsor has me do is gratitude. What am I grateful for? And so I was writing a couple things. I don't remember all of them, but I was like, I probably will have not having a father makes me a more unique person. I have a different outlook on things. Or not more unique, but specific, I should say. And I look at fathers differently. If I decide I would like to, and when the day comes, I'll be a different father than most. I said we probably wouldn't have moved to LA. I probably wouldn't have met Michael, which was he was big into helping. He was kind of like my first sponsor in a funny way, because I was able to trust him. And then I just had this thought, like, I could literally be grateful for so many things out of this. And then it was like right then and there, like at the snap of that, I felt no hatred, no resentment. And that was amazing. For someone to be able to, and I want to make something clear. Forgiveness to me is not the same thing as excusing a behavior. When I say I forgive my father, I'm not excusing that he threatened to kill my mom if she were to take the kids away. I'm not excusing his alcoholism. I'm not excusing for the things that he's done, right? But I'm forgiving. Forgiveness is to let go someone from the prison of my own mind. And that's what I was able to do. I was able to see that this was just another human being, that he's made mistakes, that he's sick like me, or I'm sick like him, right? That he's just another human being that's been through a lot. His father was murdered when he was 8, and it was like raised out of with a single mom, raised out of the youngest out of 6 or 7 kids. There's some forgiveness that I was able to bring back. So right. So the first couple years of my sobriety, I didn't really have a lot of friends my age, because I was kind of caught in the mix of this, doing step work and being 16, or 15 or 17, and it was weird. It was because I could tell that my outlook on life was changing and that I was becoming more mature, but the people around me weren't. And so I was kind of rigid and kind of outcast myself in a little bit. And it wasn't until my sponsor would say, "Yeah, you're just friends with a bunch of old fucks." And it was true. For a while I was. I was just like, those were like, people with like years of sobriety, like, because I would talk to people in AA as well, and thanks Ian, appreciate that. And with also sort of like partner and marriage experience longer than I've been alive, right? So it was just this weird dynamic. So anyway, so it wasn't until that I got into college that I was able to make some friends my age, and it was like, and I noticed like myself like being rigid and like outcasting myself, seeing myself as more mature, and that like for whatever reason I couldn't hang around with like people my age. And then I kind of just like allowed myself to not be so serious. I've heard before that a symptom of self-obsession is being serious, and that's actually been my experience, and I get that because I've noticed like I was pretty serious a couple of years ago. I wasn't able to. I guess I could say just to be myself, just to be goofy, just to be. I was always worried, and sometimes I still get into this, like how others think of me. Looking through other people's eyes and adjusting the opinion of myself, or how posturing. So so a couple months into college, I make some good friends, and we love to play racquetball. It's like it's our favorite, right? And so one night I would notice like myself like getting caught with the game aspect of it, like, oh, I gotta win, and rather than just fucking enjoy the game. And one night I just did terrible. I was just like I did terrible, and then I just degraded myself for it, right? So after the game, probably like, I don't know, maybe like an hour or two later, I'm trying to do homework, I'm in the library and I'm trying to do it, and I just can't concentrate, and I said, I can't do this, fuck this, I just gotta fucking call my sponsor, fucking talk to him for a goddamn half an hour, because it's always a goddamn half an hour, and I don't want to do this because I have to do homework and it's due tomorrow, and it's just like, and so I call him and he picks up, he says, oh hey Dom, how you doing? And I said, oh, I kind of want to shoot myself, Jeff. And he says, whoa, okay, let's take a step back, and and within half an hour I'm laughing, and it's like he made me do this thing where he said, okay, like during this night on this phone call, he said, I want you to do this. Grab a piece of paper, make a T chart, and I want you to, on one side of the chart, say what you think about yourself, and on the other side of the chart, write down what you think I think about you, right? So I'm writing down what I think my sponsor thinks of me. So I'm writing this down, and I tell him when I finish, and he says, okay, so, and I read the chart to him, and then I realize, I'm like, these are two completely different people. Like, one side is like presumably a wretched human being, and the other side is it sounds like a pretty good guy. It sounds like a very loving guy. And my sponsor said to me, now, if you were in a relationship with this person who was treating you like this, the things on the list were like, the usual, oh, you're a piece of shit, you're no good, I'm beating myself up for beating myself. It's just like all those different things, and so, and this is actually one of the hardest things that I can recall doing, was just a conversation, I guess, is my sponsor said to me, he said, the things you wrote about yourself, say them to me. And I was like, I protested right away. I was like, no. And he said, no, try it. I want you to say it. And I say it, and it's like, wow, that's really abusive. When I finally said it out loud to another human being, I saw what I was doing to myself. So, a couple months down later, I don't know, like 6 months or so, I failed my first exam. It was a chemistry exam. And I remember checking, I got an email from the teacher, from emailing the class saying it posted the grades up online. You can check what your grade is on there. And so I checked the grade, and I think I got like a 58 or 59%. And my first thought was, okay, I should probably call somebody. And so I call my sponsor, and he points out to me, and he's been saying this to me for years. He said, you can always skip the step where you beat yourself up. You can always skip that step. And so I call him up, and I'm talking like, hey, I should probably, I should probably just say this to you. I failed my first exam. I'm all right. And he was the one that pointed out to me that I skipped a step. And that was another like milestone for me. For someone that was like I would beat up myself for hypothetical situations that I would think of myself do. And now I failed my first exam, and I was like, okay, I got some more serenity. I was like, okay, what can I do now? That was huge. That was another huge thing that I was able to do. Yeah, I think the relationships that I have today and who I've become today is the accumulation of actions that I've taken here in the program. And that's like, it's just those small things, I think. It's just those small things of calling somebody every day. I talked to my sponsor. I probably called him up or called somebody up for the first couple of years. And that's because it was just like, because I was told. He told me like one contact a day, whether it was a person, calling someone on the phone or a meeting. And I kept to that rule. And it's like, I'm able to have these experiences. Like, here's another thing. When I came into the program, I was practically illiterate. I was just, and I also had dyslexia on top of that, right? Now I'm able to I'm like able to read a book in a couple weeks. That's something I could not have imagined being able to do. And I enjoy it. I actually enjoy reading. It's like that in of itself is just amazing, because I came in here and I detested reading because it was so difficult for me. It was so difficult. Now I'm in college. These are like, because I worked on myself. This is like what I was able to get because I put the work into recovery. I did the steps. I made my phone calls. I looked at myself. I wasn't. I'm sure there's times that I don't realize that I didn't look at myself, but I kept coming back. I kept saying, "Hey, this is what I'm going through right now. This is where I'm at. This is." Not every phone call now is like earth-shattering or something that I thought was earth-shattering, right? Like, I think most of the phone calls I made that I thought was like, I felt like I was calling my sponsor or somebody in the program because I had another dilemma on my hands, when really it was just something I made up. And if you, in my experience, what I can tell from other people, if you just stick to this, if you just make that one call a day, I guarantee it will get you results. So that's me, and I hope that helps.